I'm just going to take 10 minutes, really quick. And hopefully you all saw my text yesterday. Does anyone have a coaching philosophy or reason why you coach? Anything that you want to share?
I thought you were raising your hand.
No pressure.
I thought Shirley was raising
I
your
can
hand.
say.
I can also say.
I like to coach because it's fun for me,
It's fun for you.
and I like the environment, and I also like little kids. Like I like to encourage them to play volleyball, and I want them to have fun and enjoy it. And because I enjoy it, and when I was a kid, I have so many good memories that I look back on, and I want them to have the same thing.
Okay,
That's a
fantastic.
big reason.
Anna?
I feel like being a coach, it makes me a better player. Like I go to practice and I'm like, oh, this was good when my players did this.
Yeah. Nice. Anybody else? Yeah.
I've always been someone that I genuinely want to change the world, and that's a pretty big target, but I think that if you can look at it like how can you shrink your world smaller and smaller until you can make that difference, and the Santa Cruz community is a place where I genuinely feel like I can change the world in that sense, and have a very strong impactful impact on the players that are coming up, not just in volleyball but in life. I think that a lot of things that we teach people in beach volleyball or sports in general have a lot of long-standing ties toward success in life in general. So that's the impact I want to make.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
Sounds like you're going to be a teacher one day.
I think I can bring together kind of what Scotty said and also what Hannah said about coaching makes you a better player. I also think coaching makes you a better person. I think when you're constantly engaging and telling youth bits of wisdom and things that you really hold dear to you, ideas that you hold in your life, it's easy to remind yourselves that you also have to do those things. And so there's a lot of personal accountability in talking to young people about how you want to help them develop in their character, which is a beautiful part of coaching, and it's also cool that that gets reflected on you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any dudes other than Scotty? Yeah.
I think it's just pretty fulfilling to see the people get better and try to help them get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. I'd like to share a couple things, and then we'll just get started with the other activities. What does it feel like to be coached by you? Like when someone walks off the beach, what are they thinking about themselves, their experience? And how do you coach? Who are your models of coaching?
Lucas.
And that's a rhetorical question. I just want you to think about it ongoing, because most of us coach based on how we were coached, good, bad, and otherwise. And oftentimes that's not the best model. I'll be quite honest. I, despite my success athletically, am scarred by my athletic experience. I've been shamed, I've been hurt, and it's not appropriate. I grew up in what I call a suck-it-up generation. I was coached by Vietnam veterans and others who was a break-down, build-up mentality, and it wasn't okay. They thought that they had to put me in a stress situation and I'll just tough it out and make that happen. That's not appropriate. It's not appropriate, certainly, for young people. So thinking about how it's going to feel to be coached by you. Now, my coaching philosophy is very specific, and I too want to change the world, and I view this as a means to do just that. I coach to create awareness of self, awareness of others, and awareness of situations. And I do that through what I call the 4 C's. Curiosity, compassion, creativity, and confidence. So those are my 4 constructs. And what I mean by that is, hey, if I'm aware of what's happening, am I curious about what's going on for me? What's the opposite of a victim? Anybody? The opposite of a victim. The opposite of a victim, and there's a book called The Power of Ted, The Empowerment Dynamic. It talks about the opposite of victim being a creator. So if you're in a tough situation, athletically or otherwise, how do you be resourceful and creative so you can find your best way forward? And if we can teach that among young people, that's a fantastic gift. Compassion again, I hear a lot in the public domain around critical thinking and us as coaches, hey, do it this way. We come from a telling place as opposed to a curious and creative and empowering place. So I employ what I call OQIs, observations, questions, and ideas. Hey, this is what I see. Stay in that compassionate curiosity, not critical thinking, because critical is like, oh, that's bad, right and wrong. Observations, questions, compassionate curiosity, and ideas. So now when you give an athlete an idea, they have the choice whether or not to employ them. So again, through that narrative, we are empowering them as opposed to telling them. Because whether or not we conscious of it or not, if we're telling somebody to do something, that implies that they were wrong. And that's the way they hear it. Are you with me? So if I am curious about the awareness of the situation, for example, if I am compassionate to myself, to my teammate, if I'm creative on the best way forward, then I'm going to be confident on how I approach the situation, okay, and how I approach the sport. The last thing, and I mentioned it, intention and appropriate response. So as coaches, what is our intention? If we're out here to develop young people, what's the most appropriate response to do that? So keeping that construct in mind day after day, hour after hour, is really, really important. Because if you truly are out here to develop young people, and when I say young people, I'm talking about all athletes, because you're going to have some very talented players, no doubt, but you're responsible for every single athlete out there, the ones that might not be as skilled. So making sure that you're attentive, that you have equitable attention to the extent possible to all your athletes, not just playing favorites to the ones who are most talented that you hope one day when they're on TV saying, oh, God, I want to thank my coach. If you're in it for that, that's not appropriate. Because you never know when you're going to make a lifelong impression on a kid. You just never know. So you got to show up. Coaching is a really, really important responsibility. It takes focus, it takes this own breathing, becoming aware, coming back to your breath. That's something that we can certainly talk about later, but really being, hey, if my intention is to help my kids get better, have fun, all those things that you all talked about, and in turn go out and be confident and responsible, peaceful people in this world who are contributing to making this world a better place, then hey, they're going to reflect hopefully on the experience with you and this club and say, hey, that was really formative, that was inspiring to me. But you're going to create an environment where that happens. You're not going to be the sole person that, hey, that's why I was different, that's why I had a good time. You're going to create the environment where that can happen. Does that all make sense? And any questions? Yes! Now, a lot of the stuff that I share is research-based. Carol Dweck, Susan David, growth mindset, the insatiable curiosity and willingness to learn. By the way, that's the #1 leadership attribute in my book and others. So you as a coach are in fact a leader. You're leading your athletes. Insatiable curiosity and willingness to learn, and in turn take action on that learning. Again, Carol Dweck, growth mindset, I'm sure you're all familiar with. If not, it's something that you can get familiar with. So finally, as I wrap up, I am going to create a set of resources for you all as coaches. I know Lucas and Ivan had already started that, but I want to make this active. So I'm going to offer myself up if you want to debrief, if you have anything that you would like to explore given what's going on with your athletes or just the coaching experience in general. Again, I will remain available to you all ongoing. I encourage you all to work with one another to, hey, this was my experience, what are you doing here? Keeping some of these constructs in mind. But again, I'm going to provide resources, short videos, things like that. And if you're ambitious, books that can help you really think consciously about how you show up. Is that all right? Any questions? No? That wasn't too painful, huh?
I need the third C: creativity, compassion, something, then confidence.
Creativity. So,
I thought that was the first one.
Oh, curiosity,
Curiosity.
compassion,
Okay.
creativity, and confidence.
Thank you.
And I'm really attentive to how confidence shows up, and that's in body language. How do we communicate as human beings? 3 ways, primarily.
verbally, non-verbally, and
Touch?
physically, yeah.
So, yeah. So the content of what you say,
Content.
your tone of voice, and body language, including facial expression. Which one is most powerful?
Tone.
Body language.
Body language, 60%. Tone, 30%. 10% is content. In other words, your athletes aren't going to remember a damn word you said, but they're going to remember how you showed up. They're going to remember your facial expression. We communicate through our chest. Again, you're not going to remember a damn word I said, but you're going to remember how you felt. It's like, Al's fucking talking. But we communicate through our torso. This is our energy center. This is why the military is like this. You know, so if you show up with your chest out, shoulders back, you have a confident tone, you're looking in the eye, and obviously with kids, if you get down to their level, that's empowering them. So meeting your athlete where they are, but your tone matters a great deal. Your facial expressions matter a great deal. That creates, again, self-awareness. That's why it's my number one. I want my athletes and myself to be more aware. If I can be more present, if I can be more aware of what's happening with all my athletes, and when I'm communicating with one, I can be fully present for him or her, then I have the chance of being positively impactful in that situation. If I'm not aware, if I'm not fully present, then it ain't gonna happen, period. All right, well, thank you very much. And who's up next? Thank you. Appreciate it.